I'm Andrés Lara, and today I'm going to be sharing with you guys one of my favorite pound cakes of all time, the super simple, super delicious Grandma's apple cake. Stay tuned. Now we're going to start with the crumble. The entire cake itself is gluten-free, so there's no flour in the cake batter and there's no flour in the actual crumble. For this crumble recipe, we're going to need the following ingredients: brown rice flour, toasted almond flour, cold butter, and granulated sugar. All right, so let's begin the mix. Now, as you see here, I'm going to be using a Thermomix, which is essentially a food processor. You could also use a Roku, a Cuisinart, etc. I'm making a very small quantity, so the Thermomix does me well here. If you don't have a food processor, by all means, just do the traditional way of mixing, which would be with your KitchenAid bowl and a paddle. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take all of our dry ingredients, so our toasted almond flour, our brown rice flour, and of course our granulated sugar. Now, one little trick to point out, I said toasted almond flour, right? This is something that is extremely overlooked. Roasting or toasting your nut flours is something that will take you an extra 8 to 10 minutes out of your day, but it's gonna go such a long way. It's gonna improve the taste of your products drastically. Let's put the top of our Thermomix on. All right, and we're gonna go for about 20 seconds maximum. Anytime you're processing nut flours, you don't wanna go more than 20 seconds. Otherwise, the friction that you're giving it could essentially heat up the nut flours too much and the oils could come out of your flours. All right, so the 20 seconds is up. Let's just double check our flour. I'm gonna get my little tray with my spatula out. Everything looks good, nice and homogeneous. Perfect, let's put this back on. And now, all we're gonna do, on low speed, we're going to start to incorporate the cold butter cut into little cubes, hence why I'm wearing a glove. I'm just going to slowly incorporate these. Now, we're not trying to make a dough here. Remember, this is a loose crumble. So just until the butter is incorporated and then stop. We can then put this onto a sheet tray, into a box, a container, and keep it in the freezer for production. Okay, a couple more seconds just to make sure that any left behind butter gets incorporated. All right, this looks pretty good. Let's check it out. Yep, this looks great. I don't see any butter, so all the butter's been fully incorporated, yet it's still a nice loose crumble. Okay, we don't want to make this into a dough. All right, so we have a nice loose crumble. Okay, again, I don't want to make this into a dough. If you, for some reason, let it go a little too long and it did turn into a dough, it's not the end of the world. You could then chop up that dough or grate it onto on a cooling rack. There's lots of things you could do to kind of remedy it, but you're gonna waste a little bit of time, right? Because you have to go back a step. So if you just be careful, mix it just to a nice crumble, you'll be fine, you'll save time, etc. So I'm gonna put this into a container and then I'm gonna freeze it. Of course, you could lay this out onto a sheet tray, freeze that as well, and then bake it directly when you're ready. But in this case, we're actually going to save the crumble because the crumble is going to go in directly on top of the dough, on top of our grandma cake in the mold and go into the oven together. So you're actually not baking the crumble separately. All right, so we have our beautiful gluten-free crumble here. I'm gonna put a lid on it. Kyoko's gonna help me date it, label it, and we're gonna throw this in the freezer. And of course, in production, you can make large quantities of this, and you can always have them ready in the freezer for your apple cake.
Welcome to Melissa Couple Chocolate and Pastry School. Once you spray, you're done.